But here's another physics, astrophysics thing. The Big Bang of this was a man named James McGill Buchanan, who kind of laid out this roadmap at a couple of Virginia institutions that he founded and directed more than 70 years ago. Who was this man briefly? What did he want? How did he
Yeah.
become this guru?
Yeah, so if you've never heard of him, don't feel bad. I hadn't either when I started on this research. I was not looking for James Buchanan or Charles Koch. I was following the story of massive resistance to school desegregation after the Brown decision and following the efforts of Southern states to privatize education. And I came upon this man, James Buchanan, trained at the University of Chicago, you won't be surprised, who had just gone to the University of Virginia in Charlottesville in 1956 to set up a donor-funded center on campus to advance this set of right-wing ideas. And I ended up kind of following him as he goes forward, is involved with all the major organizations on the front, on the right, gets involved with Charles Koch in reaction to the campus protests of the late 60s, and then worked with every single Koch-funded organization and many of the others on the political right. But what he did that was so powerful is he developed a theory of how government grew over the course of the 20th century and then the 21st. And the idea was that it was basically citizen power, right? Organized citizens who were able to do these things that they called rent seeking, and said that and they come to this as extreme libertarians. So they were saying any of these things that the majority wins without the consent of everyone are necessarily coercive and therefore illegitimate, right? So public education, while Southern, white supremacists are reacting to Brown. Well, that's coercive because we don't want to go to public schools. We don't want our children, white children, to sit next to black children. And you go on from there. Social Security, thought it was totally illegitimate, came up with plans to undermine it, Medicare, on and on and on. But what Charles Koch, it wasn't so much, Buchanan was involved with all these things, but he was more of an academic. I mean, he was an operator. But actually, Charles, I don't hate to spoil alert on my own book, but Charles Koch kicks him to the side in his own institution, George Mason University, at the end of the story, which Charles Koch now uses as a base for all these operations. But Koch found in these ideas what he called a technology to effect a political change that repeated experience had taught them the vast, overwhelming majority of people did not want, right? So how are you going to impose extreme minoritarian agenda on a majority in a democratic society? Well, that takes some sophisticated thinking and some rules changes. And that's what he got from Buchanan.